I'm back. Welcome to Back to Life. My name is Sherry Overstreet. I'm so glad that you're here, whether you're watching or listening, wherever you may be. If you're watching me, you will see that I am in workout clothes. I think I have a stain on my shirt. And I'm not in a wig or anything. I have a headband on, and I just got done working out. And as I was running, walking, so I'm doing interval training. I'm actually doing Couch to 5K. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It is an awesome app. And what the app does is it trains you basically to run up to 3.2 miles, which is a 5K. And I used to be an avid runner. And when all this stuff happened with, the diagnosis, um, I wasn't working out really. And so I just one day thought, I need to put myself on a 90-day program. Like I need to do something where I'm I'm pushing myself to be physically active. And so I I thought about that app, and so I decided to start that. And I'm on week 5, and it's going really well. I'm really excited about it, and it's just a great app. And it takes you really slow, so it's like walk 5 minutes, run 1 minute, walk 5 minutes, that type of thing. So, highly encourage you to do that if it's something that you're interested in doing. Anyway, Couch to 5K. So I'm doing that. So that's why I'm in this workout get up. And anyway, so I'm running, and as I'm running, walking, and you know, I'm with Chief, my dog, who's just incredibly awesome. I just thought, I'm just gonna go and do episode 8, and I'm so excited I'm on 8. So I heard a rumor, I don't know how true this is, that the average podcast is 7 and then they stop. Most people stop at 7. So we're already above average. So at least according to what I heard. And so anyway, welcome back to life. I'm incredibly grateful to be alive another day, and to be able to inhale air, and to be able to walk and run and do all the things, and be with my family and my dog, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. And also, most importantly, to spread some awareness, spread some really good things in the world. And, I think that it's really important to turn pain into a platform where it can help other people. And so that's the thing that I'm really, really wanting to do. I'm on a mission, actually. So, anyway, I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that I'm here. So, and I'm also wanted to give a shout out to this organization that's called Epic Adventures. So, Epic Adventures is a cancer survivor group, and what they do is they do camps. They do a winter camp and a summer camp. If you have not heard of them, I highly encourage you to look them up. It's called Epic Adventures. I don't have the website in front of me. I apologize. Anyway, if you Google it, you'll find it. And they are different places in the states. I'm not sure all the states that they're in. Anyway, they're based in Colorado. So I went on a epic adventure on Saturday, this past Saturday, and we did a 4 mile, I think it was 4.2 mile hike. It was amazing, and it was really an easy hike. We did not, I don't think we even hiked up a foot because it was pretty flat. So I don't even know if you want to call it a hike, maybe a walk. I mean, actually, there was some smaller little hills, really easy hike. And what I loved about it though was that there was probably 15 of us, all cancer survivors, and everybody had a story. And that's the thing, is that we all have a story and a message. And I just loved hearing the different the things that different people had gone through, and just how humble everybody was. I just really noticed that everybody's pretty humble, and you know really incredibly grateful to be alive. And I getting emotional just talking about that, because it just was really very fulfilling and very satisfying to be around that. And especially this past week, I, I've been wanting to do this episode all week actually, and I have had a struggle this past week. I've been up and down emotionally, and so I'll go into my update and then I can explain to you why that emotional stuff is coming up. So I decided to do the oxyplatin. Okay, so oxyplatin is the chemo drug for colon cancer. And the reason why I did decide to do that is because I look at so I'm very so here's the thing about me. I love to stand in the gap of things, meaning that like I like to look at all my options, whether it's medical, holistic, whatever the case may be. I think that with cancer, and this is totally my belief, everybody has their own belief. Mine is that I think that your best odds are to be integrative. So that's where I am. I'm in this like integrative approach where I want to look at all of it. So, and chemo, there is a risk versus reward. So is the risk worth the reward? Okay. So with oxyplatin, and it's a tough one. It At least where I'm at with where I'm at with where they're saying I'm at, it's they're classifying it as stage 3, which means that it it went into my lymph nodes. So they took out 35 lymph nodes, 2 of them are cancerous. So that means they have to say it's stage 3. Okay. It's probably a late stage 2. At least that's what I would like to say. So anyway, they did a Signatura test prior to the surgery and it was positive. They did it after and it was negative. I think I've already said this. And basically, what that means is that the odds of it coming back are not as high if it's negative. Okay. So my understanding of it is that my oncologist said, well, it's 50-50. Okay. So if you don't do the chemo, it's a 50% chance it will come back. Okay. And there's a 50% chance that it will not. All right. If you do the treatment, which is oxyplatin and I can't say the drug names. I apologize. I'm doing a chemo pill. Anyway, the chemo pill is 2 times a day, three pills 2 times a day, so 6 pills a day for 14-day cycle. Anyway, so if I do the treatment, basically it's like a 95% chance it will not come back. So I'm like, all right, well, let's talk about side effects. Let's talk about what this is going to look like. And here's the thing about the chemotherapy and the side effects. Everybody's different and everybody's going to have different ones. And some of them are very common, so they know what to tell, what they know, they kind of know what to prepare you for. So for this one, it was, they said a lot of nauseousness. They gave me like 3 different types of nausea medication. Nauseousness, neuropathy is always a risk with any chemotherapy, which means like numbness in your hands and feet that doesn't go away. This one also was with the oxyplatin. It was the side effect is if you touch something cold, feels like frostbite on your fingers, that type of thing. So, that could also happen in your feet. So for me, I had significant nauseousness, which I was really angry about because when I did Herceptin, I didn't have any of that. I didn't feel nauseous at all. I literally felt like I was back pregnant. It feels like pregnancy nauseousness is what I could compare it to. It's just constantly there. It comes in waves and then it stays for a while and then and even the nauseousness medication wasn't really working for me. What did help me though, which I want to give out this tip for anybody that's listening, is bananas actually really helped. I mean, I would just eat a banana and I'd feel 100 times better. So that didn't mean it didn't come back. It did. So I had an infusion on Friday. I was there 4 or 5 hours, came home, and well, after, so at the end of the treatment, I actually started to feel the side effects right away, which was the the hands were tingly, my hands and feet were tingly. I could feel something in my throat. Like I took a drink of water and it like hurt my throat. It was like it felt like glass, like crunchy. I don't know how to, it's just a weird feeling. Anyway, that's what I noticed right away. Got home, I was tanked. I mean, I was like, I just want to lay down. Like it wore me out. So I laid down. I was pretty much resting from like 4 p.m. Friday till the next day, like mid afternoon Saturday. I just let myself rest. Um, I didn't feel good. I'll just be honest. It was rough, man. It was rough business. And I was just like, God, this sucks. I don't want to do it. I was really mad. I was mad at cancer. I was like, this is stupid. Somebody's like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just annoyed. They're like, you're the only person I met that's ever said they're just annoyed at chemo. I'm just annoyed. It's put a wrench in my, it just put a wrench in my weekend. So anyway, when I was going through that, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, this sucks. I don't want to do it. This is awful. And then I came out of it and I'm like, all right, well, again, I got to go back to risk versus reward. What's going to be the best outcomes for me to prolong my life. And again, like, I don't, I'm going to go into this rough week a little bit. So I think that whenever I have done any sort of procedure, whether it's chemotherapy, surgery, anything like that, I get emotional afterwards. And I think that is because it's just triggering the body, right? And so I had this up and down week. And one of the things that happened was somebody had put a posting on Facebook about several people that had died from cancer. I'm not going to lie to you, that was really triggering. And there was one person in particular that had passed away, had died. I don't like to say passed away. I mean, let's just be real. She died. Um, she was a stage 4 metastatic colon cancer, and diagnosis was like March. They told her basically, you only have, you might not make you'll be lucky to make it past October. So she decided that for her and where she was at with her mindset and health and all that she was going to take the holistic approach. They said, like they're not going to talk, the medical part is not going to talk, medical part, the doctors or whatever are not going to talk you out of that. They're just going to tell you like your best bet is to do this, otherwise you're only looking at this amount of time. Now, I always say like nobody knows our timeline, and that's actually true. Nobody really does know our timeline. And the other part of this is in the medical model, they have experience, a lot of experience. And not all doctors are out to get us. And I definitely want to have a doctor, especially if I'm bleeding out somewhere. Like, I am not anti medical. I think that the medical profession's brilliant. And I, I had a moment when I was in a hospital where I was like, I wonder how long it takes to get a medical degree because I think it would be fantastic to come back as an oncologist. However, I don't want to go back to school. That's like another freaking 10 years. Like, no thanks. Anyway, it was just a fleeting thought. So they have your best interests at heart, really. I mean, again, there are tragedies and train wrecks and all of that stuff. You get to choose where you want to look. So, anyway, so she took the holistic approach and she didn't make it to October because we're only in September right now. So she went from March to September. And it just made me sad. And it made me sad, really sad. And I don't know, I guess it was like, I think it was the sadness was a fear of, am I doing the right things? Am I doing what's best for me? So it's like the second guessing process. And I had this moment where I was like, God, I just, maybe I need to be in the days where I didn't have any sort of internet. I didn't have any sort of like social media or anything to compare myself to. Like maybe I could just compare myself to the next door neighbor. So right now, like there's so much information out there that it's almost overwhelming, and not almost overwhelming, that's not right. It's overwhelming. There's so much. And I think that it's TMI. It's too much. It's way too much. And everybody is an expert. Everybody's an expert. So I think that you just have to really be cautious of who you're listening to. And I want to say, even don't even listen to me. Like, you could listen to me, however, listen to yourself. What is going to be the best thing for you? And anyway, so yeah, I had a really up and down emotional week. I think it was partly because of the chemo treatment and just feeling like, what the F? Like, I don't want to do this. This is stupid. I'm annoyed. I'm angry. I'm sad. Anyway, I'm going through a wholeness of emotions, which is great because we should be doing that. Wholeness of emotions. That's what we used to do when we were kids. We would go through all of the emotions. Now we're in a world where we want to just flatline and numb out. And so, highly encourage you to have all of your emotions, up and down, all of it. So anyway, this week you know, I think what's come up for me a lot is guilt. This is the word guilt. So I want to talk about that. So I had some profound moments this week around the word guilt. So I had a memory come up, and the memory was when I was in fifth grade. I really do believe it's either fourth or fifth grade. I don't remember which. I had a Christmas exchange gift thing. You know those things they do in school? I know you do them with families too, where you wrap a gift and then you give it, there's this trade. Everybody picks a gift. Nobody knows who it came from. And so I'm doing this gift exchange. I'm very excited about it. And uh, I go home, I'm excited, and I don't have the guts to ask my parents for money to buy a gift. I just don't. I'm afraid of both of my parents basically at this time. And I decide to give this give a gift that I loved, which was a book. And the book was Grease. The book of Grease. Sandy and Danny. Um, Sandy and Danny. Uh, I absolutely loved Grease. I had it memorized. I would dance to all the songs. I would sing all the songs. I loved it. I watched it over and over and over. And I'm not really sure it was really an appropriate movie to watch in fourth grade. However, my parents didn't monitor that type of stuff. So anyway, we have this gift exchange. I get this book and it's used, okay, because I don't have money. I'm in fourth grade and I'm afraid to ask for money. Um, and they didn't want us to spend a lot. It was just probably like $5 under to keep it under $5 or something like that. So anyway, I wrap up the book, and the book is old and used, and the cover's probably torn and ripped, and their insides are old, like folded and stuff like that. And I didn't think about it as like a bad thing. So I wrapped it up, and I go to school, and we have this gift exchange, and the girl that sat in front of me was the one that picked my gift. And she opens the gift and she starts crying automatically because it's not a new, and she's like, this is old, this is used. So she's upset about this gift. And I'm watching this happen, and I'm holding in all of my feelings about this. I've already learned to hide my feelings by this age. My reactions, my like I'm holding stuff in. And what I was holding in was guilt. I felt so bad that she got this old gross stupid gift. I and I'm just, remembering the memory as I'm going through it, and it was so deep. And I really do believe that it was unconscious. And for some reason this week, it came rearing up. And I was like, wow, I felt so bad. I felt so bad and guilty and ashamed of myself for bringing this old crappy book as a gift. And here's the thing about it. I Guilt is such a big thing in relationships, okay? It really is. And one of the things that I had, like, I'm telling you, the downloads this week have been mind blowing. So the latest one was around the guilt was picture yourself, you're in a relationship, and you both feel guilty about something you did in the past, maybe whatever situation. I don't know, we could go through all kinds of different scenarios. There's probably 5 million. I realized something about the relationships. So I have a son who I love. I mean, I love all my kids so much. Like, so blessed to have them. I have a 21-year-old already. 21, 19, and 17. My 17-year-old does not live with me full time. He lives with his dad because the school is closer to them. I realized that I was carrying around so much guilt and shame around that I had moved away. So it's my fault for moving away, that we're distant, that we don't, like, we're not right next to each other. So I don't see him as much as I used to. When I got divorced, we did this parenting plan where I had my kids all the time. Like when they were small, I mean, I had them all the time, all the way up until they were teenagers. And then we started doing like every other week to make it easier on the kids. And, because it was just every other weekend. Now, like I would have them all week and then he would have them on the weekends, that kind of thing. And then we went every other week. And then now it's like the two older ones live with me and the younger one lives with him. So um, I don't see him as much and I miss him a lot. And so I was just feeling this sorrow and this guilt and this shame. And Sheaf was too, apparently. It's okay, buddy. And so, hey, it's okay. I think he's sensing my feelings here. My emotions are coming up. So he's just like, what's wrong? You're all right. It's okay, buddy. So anyway, that was coming up for me. And one of the pictures I've had received, I call it the Holy Spirit, Spirit, Divine, whatever you want to call it. The picture was of me and Kai across from each other, and in the middle of us was a big brick of guilt. And the download was you put that there. And I I resonated with that so much. I was like, holy crap. I decided to put guilt there. So Kai doesn't have any idea. Like, he didn't put it there. I did. So what it causes is a disconnect in the relationship, right? So as I have the big brick of guilt in between me and him, and I'm talking to him through the brick of guilt, we have a disconnect. It's not going to be a full connection and a full loving connection because I am attempting to have a relationship through this brick of guilt. That was the download. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's something that could help a ton of people to realize, like, to not have a to not have a brick of guilt through a relationship. So the idea would be to heal the guilt, and healing the guilt is perfect love, and it's also forgiveness, forgiveness of yourself, and forgiving, for holding yourself responsible for feeling guilty. So here's the thing I would say, going back to the Grease book. I feel like I need to do some Grease movie. Do some, like, I don't know. Some of you watching may not even know what Grease is. If you don't know what it is, please go watch it. It's fantastic. Anyway, Healing the guilt is forgiving yourself for holding on to it, first of all. It's actually really an illusion. You know, I, yeah, so the guilt with Kai, it's like, okay, I put it there. I'm responsible for putting it there. So I can actually remove it. So going back to the grease book, kind of went off on a tangent. Going back to the grease book, um, I was taking responsibility for her response to receiving this book, right? She wasn't happy with it. It was her unhappiness, right? I felt responsible for her happiness. I wanted to do something to make it right. I just didn't know how to. And I didn't, like it just ate me alive. So the thing with Kai is similar. It was like, how do I make this right? Like, how can I fix it? And it's really not about that. There isn't really anything to fix. It's, again, I'm the one that has the feeling, and I'm missing out on my connection with him when I have that guilt in the middle of our relationship, and that's not something I'm willing to keep. So I think that knowing that, even just that, having that in my awareness was so healing for me. And I had a phone call with him like a couple of days later, and it was just such a great it was such a great phone call. Like I felt so connected to him. I didn't feel this distance of, oh, because I'm not present. Because because here's the truth, even if I was living with him, he's he's always gone. He has a job, he has a girlfriend, he has his life, he has school, right? So even if I was there, it still would be it still would be like I wouldn't be seeing him all the time, right? So anyway, I just created this whole thing around that. And so I am in this journey of healing guilt. And I think that I would also say go into this other part of it too, which, as you noticed in my language at the very beginning when I'm talking about the Grease book, I kept saying I feel bad. That's a proponent to disease, right? Like if I'm constantly going around saying I feel bad about everything, like I was trained to feel bad about everything. So you did something, you dropped something, you broke a glass, I felt bad about it, even though I didn't have anything to do with it. I could have been like 20 miles away and you could break a glass and I'd feel bad about it. I had a I had a client once that I was working with that she was like, yeah, I didn't have such a great week because my mom's dryer broke and I feel really bad. And that's very interesting, right? Because it's not even her dryer and it's not even like her responsibility to fix the dryer or whatever. And it was because her mom had called and was complaining about the broken dryer and, what am I going to do? And I can't afford it. And was very much in the victim's space. And the client took all of that on. And so with my life, I was trained to do that. Like I was trained to take all of that on, no matter what it was, who it was, even if I didn't do anything, it had nothing to do with it. It was I had to, like it was I needed to feel guilty about it, um, or ashamed of myself. Right? I'm ashamed of myself that you stepped on my foot. I feel guilty that you stepped on my foot. Um, so I think that there's a just a the big healing piece is that bringing it up into your awareness. So if you are, and then also saying I feel bad, I feel bad, I feel bad, I feel bad, over and over and over, and even in your even in your psyche, saying that over and over. No wonder there's disease. No wonder. And so I'm in the process of healing this feeling bad training. I don't desire to feel bad. I just don't. And there's no need for it. And the spirit wants us to have joy and peace and harmony while we're on this planet. I really do believe that for sure in my body is that's what the Holy Spirit wants. That's what the Spirit wants. The Spirit of God, the divine, the universe, whatever it is, whatever your higher power is, I really do believe that's that's what it wants. It doesn't want you to suffer. So I I'm going to close with that. I'm going to start moving into closing. I think that 30 minutes is probably pretty good. Anyway, I do want to give an update. I have a PET scan coming up pretty soon in a couple days. So please send your good vibes and your prayers and all of the love. And I will post an update as soon as I find out what that is. And this is a full on PET scan. It's top to toes, well, neck to toes. And we'll find out basically what's going on in my body. And I'm going to tell you, I feel really pretty good. However, I don't know. We'll find out. So anyway, I just love you guys that are listening, and whatever you're going through, I just send you out a big hug and lots of love. And please keep tuning in and share with your family and friends or anybody that might be struggling with something, anything. It doesn't have to be cancer. Whatever disease is, could even be emotional. Most of it's emotional, let's be honest. Anyway, love you guys.